If you think about many of the issues that we have in the world, a lot of it boils down to our emotions and feelings, expressing ourselves in hurtful ways. Of course, not everyone, but when you think about yelling at our children, whether you are a parent, um, mother, father, sister, brother, yelling at siblings, fighting with siblings, teachers, administrators, yelling at their students, calling them outside of their name. When you think about the violence, when you think about the suicides, when you think about the mental health issues, many of it boils down to our emotions and feelings. Those that residual information that stands after an experience. There are when I was thinking about this podcast, there are basically three concepts that come to mind when I think about residual emotions and feelings. One of them is all of them is actually from the Bible because I believe that life boils down to what you believe, right? What you choose to believe. And I do believe that our Creator, the Bible refers to God. I've used higher power, intelligence, higher energy. But our Creator, I believe we are in its image. That the faculties that we have, the ability to process information, the ability to track the things that the people and the things, the ability to say what we want or think about what we want and it comes to fruition. The power of intuition, the power of discernment, the power of love, compassion, healing, all resides within us. So God made us in his image, that everything we need is within us, those principles to live by. Number two, that God is love, that our Creator is love. And I know it can be very hard for many people to wonder, to think, God is love, but all of this has happened to me. We all have individual journeys, experiences that we go through. You see it in movies where we have protagonists and we have the antagonists. And often an antagonist, and you can even look in the Bible as Judas and protagonist being Jesus, often the antagonist is there to be some type of barrier or opposition. But it's not in a mean way, because even Jesus saw you are here because our Father put you here. That we all, in every point of our lives, play a role, and how we interpret our life, our experiences, our emotions, our feelings will often be a part of how we respond to others. Judas was jealous. Judas wanted more money, but he let his conscience, the truth, sunk in at the end. I want the truth to sink in now. I don't want to wait until I'm dead and gone. I don't want you to wait until you're dead and gone. I want the truth as much as I can have it this lifetime. And I want the same for you. So I believe that our Creator is love. I remember, and I've shared this before, when after moving to Illinois from Memphis, my mother left an abusive relationship with my father. And I remember laying in the bed in this back room that we lived in for months. And I looked out at the sky and I could just feel that something was watching me. Something was looking at me. Something loved me. And it was separate from what I was going through at the time. And I've talked about my experience in the darkness, my personal experience. Number 3, 2 Timothy 1, chapter 1, verse 7 tell us, and was telling Timothy, Paul was telling Timothy, God did not give you a spirit of fear or timidity. You have a spirit of power, love, and self control. And often we let our emotions and our feelings get the best of us instead of being the data they were meant to be. They are the data that tells us that something is not correct. Something is happening that we need to address within ourselves. And this is the key, to address within ourselves and not outside of ourselves. Not going to the person, yelling, screaming, kicking, punching, but addressing something within ourselves. Now, I mentioned that I went through my own experience with pain. And one of the things that I needed to address with myself was trusting myself, because it was several months prior that I said in another person's experience that my father was wrong. He didn't want to admit to the truth, and abusing someone was wrong. But somehow in that, I lost those words. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust to tell anyone else. We have a power. We have power. We have love. We have self-control. When we go through experiences, it's not so much about blaming. We're not to blame others, but to see how we may have, what was our role in that experience? What did we need to learn about ourselves? And often it boils down to self-worth, our image, which many of us have lost. We have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten how we were made, fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully in knowing the experiences we would have, wonderfully in knowing that we had everything inside of us to transcend those experiences. We choose how to interpret data. We can say that if somebody yells at us or says that we're unworthy or calls us a wimp, which my son recently heard an adult calling children a wimp, wimps. We can interpret that as, okay, I am a wimp and I deserve it. And whatever we interpret, we end up identifying with, becoming, and directing our paths in that direction. And then we wonder why we're in jail, or we've stolen stuff, or we're in abusive relationships. We choose how to interpret and to use the information to make better decisions, to learn from our experiences, because I believe that every experience builds on the next one. One thing that I share in my memoir, Compass, my proposed title, Compass, is that I've allowed memories, thoughts to show me who I was, not to replay what happened, but to see that innocent girl, to see that joyful girl, that creative girl. We don't have to get wrapped up in the storms of life. Our goal is to master the storms. As Jesus was in the boat and woke him up and said, it's a storm, we're going to die. Ye of little faith. And he calmed the storm. We have the ability to calm the storms of anger, jealousy, shame, doubt, resentment, vengeance, anxiety. But instead, what we're seeing are these mental health diagnoses and seeing people say, I am anxiety, I am fear, I am angry. And it's okay to admit when we have these emotions, but to consistently say, this is who I am. We have replaced our image, the image of who we are, who we truly are, was something that is man made. Man did not create us. A higher energy, higher spirit did. And when we identify with man, we have the same limitations as man does. And I mean, I'm not just talking about man as in male, I'm talking about as the world does. We wonder why we're struggling. We're wondering why we have to go on medication after medication after medication after medication. And it's often because we're not getting to the root of the cause. Medication was not meant to cure. I believe medication was meant to get things under control enough so that we can figure out the root cause of why we're going through, why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. When we allow these residual emotions to come into our dwelling and to take root and to grow, as I see the internal as our garden, something that we watch over, something that we pick the weeds out. Make sure that, our soil is always consistently the ability to be fertile and to take in information. But we must daily assess our garden, our internal dwelling, to see what have I allowed to come inside? What does not resonate within me? What is not my truth? Because whatever we take in, it affects how we work. It affects how we talk to our employees, how our employees talk to us, our coworkers talk to us. It affects the job that we do. Do we care enough about people? Because if we don't care about ourselves, if we don't see our lives having purpose and meaning, if we do not see that people, human beings, are made in the very image of our Creator, regardless of their color, how do we know what color this higher spirit is? How do we know what this higher spirit really looks like? We have these images that go around, but these images often play into our thoughts and often play about what we have about people and often play into prejudice, racism, and divisiveness. Because we say God should look like this. This is how Jesus looked. Our residual, our emotions and feelings can take our focus away. Instead of being focused, instead of being disciplined, we become nonchalant. We're kind of going through the motions. We're doing the work. It doesn't matter. I'm getting paid for it. I'm ready to, when I go home, I'm home. And many of us, we're carrying the work home with us. Our residual emotions and feelings, they affect how we interact with others, our spouses, significant others. Do we yell at them? Do we listen to them? That's a big thing for me, is listening. Do we get offensive? Do we compliment them? It affects how we interact with our children. Do we call them outside their name? Do we tell them, speak to them in negative tones of voices? Do we push? Do we kick? Does love mean I hit you, I beat you, so when other people do it, you'll know how to fight back? Does love mean staying away all day? Or does love mean communicating, spending quality time with your children, listening to them, communicating with them, not just talking to them, but listening to them as well? Do you know what they like and what they don't like? Our residual emotions and feelings affect the work that we do in the world. Again, are we going through the emotions and just doing stuff? Or do we really have a conviction? Do we have those? Do we know ourselves, our talents and our gifts? Do we know how to use them? Are we aiming to use them, maximizing our time, our energy, and our money, our resources? Do we have a conviction to our truth that regardless of what anyone else says, this is what I am here to do? Do we have a mind of our own? Are we following tradition because my mother was a nurse, I'm going to be a nurse? Because my father was a psychologist, I'm going to be one? Because my father was rich, that's all I need to focus on is being rich. Forget about character. It's about greed. It's about getting your own and not worrying about others. How we feel about ourselves affects what we do and everything that we do. Who do you see yourself as? Do you see yourself made in the image of this powerful creator that created everything, variety on earth, that allows our bodies to work, our lungs to breathe, our digestive system do all that it needs to do without us really talking to it or telling it? And though we can have a positive effect on our lives, on our digestive system and all of our other systems, but it runs automatically. What power is this? Aim to know this power. It's Friday. It's Freedom Friday. And it's an opportunity to become one with our Creator, to question this power, to inquire about this power that we have and what we're able to do, and to let go of emotions and feelings. I want to say let go. I mean, really take an assessment. Should you feel guilty because of what someone did? What is it that you need to learn from your experience? What is it that you're still holding on to? Ask yourself questions, because I believe that when we ask, the answer does come. May not always be immediate, but it comes at the right time. When the student is ready, remember the teacher appears. So sitting down quietly, taking time this weekend and really ask yourself, what experiences am I still holding on to? What should I know about myself that I don't know? What do I need to learn about myself that I haven't learned? Because once you learn it, once you put into practice, once you become a student of life, it's all about maximizing your experiences to get to your highest version of yourself, to express that, to express the work that you're here to do, and not just humming around and doing stuff because everybody else says you should do it, but really do it working from the heart. We create a generational love cycle by dismantling those thoughts, those myths that created this cycle of pain in the first place. We realize that our lives have meaning and purpose. We realize the power that is within us and the conviction to do the work that we're here to do. We realize and are in touch with our gifts and our talents. And we don't allow ourselves to be controlled by our emotions and our feelings, but that we master them, because within us is the spirit of self-mastery. That is part of our role here on earth, is to master ourselves, not others, to master our minds, our bodies, that we're not controlled by feelings, by food, by exercise, by drugs, and whatever external bandages that we try to put on us when we have pain. Instead, we are dismantling that pain and we're choosing a new direction, a direction of love, a direction that has hope, that has joy and happiness and truth and understanding and acceptance. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. When you think about a mantra, when I think about mantras, I've been practicing Louise Hay, and one of the things that she have encouraged us to do is that she encouraged to do is to say, I love myself. I accept myself as I am. And when you open the door, the true self has the opportunity to rise within you. I'll talk to you guys soon. As always, make this lifetime great, because why? Because you still can. You're here. Take care of yourself and those you love.